Hey everybody, welcome to the Portsmouth Basketball Podcast. This is part 2 of an interview series. If you haven't heard part 1 yet, go back and check it out. But for those of you who are here at the right time, thank you so much for listening. Let's get into it.
Yeah, like you say, obstacle after like whack in the face, after kicking the balls, after like...
Yeah. So, like, coming back to the UK, is that when you went back into the Solent Stars?
Yeah, it is. Joined the Solent Stars under Mark Scott, 2001, 2002. And that's with...
That's a good team there.
That's an excellent team. We got Americans, John Bynum, Marlon Capers, Alan Cunningham came to play for us as a 50-year-old, and yeah, just an incredible...
What was he like to play with? I mean, we're talking, when we say Alan Cunningham, I guess for people our age, we're talking the godfather of Portsmouth basketball, the area basketball, are we?
I guess, because he played for that Portsmouth FC team, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was, you know, he's
one of the big
ones
names,
that anyone our age is looking up to, like, wow, that's Alan Cunningham.
Yeah, he's
like
one
Colin
of the
Irish,
fathers,
same thing.
One of the fathers of the game, right?
Yeah.
The fathers of the British game.
Yeah.
He's like part of that generation.
So
who,
what was he like playing with?
in what sense?
Physical?
Incredibly physical. I mean, he's going to grab you a dozen rebounds a night.
He was a big dude.
He's going to shoot the three with people in his face, and it just doesn't faze him. Yeah, he can still shoot. As a teammate, he was generally really encouraging. I mean, back then you played the so we played in the finals, right? In that team, we made it to the finals. And back then you play the semi-final on the Saturday. This is men's Division 1. You play the semi-final on the Saturday and the final on the Sunday.
That is crazy.
It is absolutely insane.
What is that about?
So Alan comes to us like...
Get the physios ready.
He's like, fellas, he's a 50-year-old man, right? He goes, fellas, I'm going to give you everything I got tonight. I'll do the best I can tomorrow. He drops 32 points in the semi-final on the as a 50-year-old man, right?
Yeah.
It is just a master of the game at this stage. And the next night, you know, fair play to him. He must have been dying. Like, I'm 44 and I can't. You know, I can't play 2 local league games back to back. But yeah, in the final, we lost in double overtime. It's a tragic story. Yeah.
Oh.
Go on, let's have it. What's the tragic story?
Just that we lost.
Double overtime.
To Teesside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was there a point that you thought... So, who was ahead before it went to the first overtime?
Oh, mate, it was a long time ago, Mark.
No. It's funny, though, because...
It was against the Teesside Mohawks. They also had a couple of good Americans. They'd had a great season as well.
So when you say people like Alan Cunningham, we were lucky enough to not play with him, but watch him play when we were little. But as having him as a teammate, what made him such an exceptional player? What made some of these players, all the good players that you've played with, are there traits that are similar? Are there things as in there?
There's nothing similar to Alan Cunningham. As a 50-year-old man, like pretty much dominant. You know, he's probably taken it easy because we had 2 fantastic Americans. But like I just kind of painted that picture of the semi-finals, he dropped 32 points because when it matters, he's going to use all his knowledge, all his strength, all his tricks, and he's going to show up and he's going to carry the team when it matters, you know?
And that's NBL Div 1
Yeah.
in those days. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
32 points at 50 years old.
Jeez.
In a semi-final.
I can get 32 points at 22 years old.
Yeah.
And then, so you were the Solent Stars, and at a certain point, you went international, didn't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't... Yeah. Yes, I did. I wouldn't put it like that. I wasn't earning money anywhere. It was just... I met a young lady. I was coaching Portsmouth basketball team.
Oh, yeah, I remember, actually. You were my coach at one point, Portsmouth University. You became the Portsmouth University coach.
Was I?
Yeah. And you
well,
said,
I know I was the Portsmouth basketball coach, but I can't remember.
You did you started doing Portsmouth University, and you went, Paul, do you go to uni here? I went, yeah. He went, right, you're playing next game. And it was, and I was in my final year. I don't know why I didn't play university basketball, but I was in my final year and it was halfway through. And then you went play, and then started. That was the first time I started playing.
Oh, amazing!
You were doing a lot of. We were playing a lot of Fury games at that point. So you were playing Fury and you were doing football at the same time.
Yeah, I know I was doing a lot, but yeah. So I started playing for the university, and you were coach. That just popped in my head.
Fantastic!
Yeah. Got really excited about that.
That's St Paul's, wasn't it?
Yeah, St Paul's.
Yep.
Yeah. So
ended up funny springy floor.
Ended up also coaching the women's team and met a French woman there. So I'm only 22. It was the same season I'm playing for Mark Scott with Alan Cunningham and all those guys. The same season I'm coaching Portsmouth University, men's and women's, and met a young French woman there. So I went back to France to continue that romance and ended up playing for a small village, which was a fantastic experience again. Like, if anything, basketball has been a passport to travel and to see different parts of the world, like, that otherwise wouldn't have been. Like the French, lots of people go from this country, go to France, and they think, oh, the French, they're so rude and everything like this. But like, if you learn French, if you know how to speak French, if you go and play basketball for a little village and you help them get promoted to the next division, like, they're so receptive. They're like the warmest, most hospitable, inclusive people. Maybe that's a step too far, but I get a completely different impression of it being as someone who's contributed to their culture.
I think learning the language makes a big difference. I think even making the effort to learn the language wherever you are always makes a big difference. So you ended up in Australia as well, right?
Yeah, that was just traveling. I wasn't playing basketball over there, but
okay. And then at a certain point, so this is kind of where we started playing National League together.
Hold on, let's go. Can I just take you back to France a second?
Yeah.
Just the crowds there were also the villagers, right? But the parents of my teammates played on the first team, or maybe the grandparents of my teammates played on the first team that existed.
Oh, wow.
In France. And the story came about. And I think you're going to find this interesting. This is my perception of what I learned whilst I was there. And it's actually crucial to why basketball is more popular in Europe than it is in this country. So France was occupied by the Germans and it was liberated by the Americans. And the GIs came over and they brought basketball with them. And they taught the locals how to play basketball. And so if your country was occupied by the Germans and liberated by the Americans, it seems like you were introduced to basketball in the 40s.
Yeah.
Right, and then that becomes embedded in your culture.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas the UK wasn't occupied by the Nazis, wasn't liberated by the Americans.
No.
Weren't introduced to their.
Well, I've never
sport.
thought of it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the Americans over here, obviously, but
Yeah.
I mean, who's the strongest? When you think of the strongest European places, Greece, Italy.
It's not quite universal.
Spain.
I don't think Spain was liberated. Spain had their own dictator. It
Yeah.
doesn't quite work everywhere.
Same in Italy, they had their own thing going on, but
it's true in France. Like,
that's
yeah,
very.
I've never thought of it like that before.
No,
Yeah.
I've never looked at that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of make that point on your basketball podcast.
But did you have? I mean, as we talked about, you came from that. You went with Solent. Did Solent give you back positivity about basketball playing again, and then to go to France and have that positivity that you from that experience
after America?
Yeah. I mean, the dream of becoming a professional was dead, but yeah, I loved basketball that year particularly. We had a good crew, a good squad, good coaching staff. I think Steve Fitzsimmons, again, my old college coach, became the assistant coach, who was perhaps mentoring Mark Scott through his level 3 coaching award. Yeah, that was a good season. I mean, I was never. The dream of becoming a professional was dead, so it was just kind of playing for fun, playing for pleasure, and it felt like we had a chance to go all the way as well. So the motivation was back. Yeah, the motivation was there.
And I guess while you were away as well, that's when I think, and I don't know the full details, I just know at some point Mick started running the Solent Stars team. And that's when he asked me to play for Solent Stars. I only played for one season, and it was it felt like in free fall. I think.
What season was that? What year was that?
This has got to be 2007, 2008, around there somewhere, I think. But I just remember it felt like it was in free fall a bit, and then the season finished. I mean, we finished all the games. The season finished, and then Mick took National League, Portsmouth back to National League with the Portsmouth Smugglers, and that's when you turned up back in Portsmouth. That's what I remember. Then going, right, we got Steve here, and we had you, Clayton Milner. He came from Solent. Ryan Payne from Solent, and then we had Andy Ong from Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Harry Veazey.
Yeah.
From Portsmouth, and then obviously you had the younger players, which would have been, I guess, the Teasdale brothers and Lawrence Rowe.
Yeah.
Leon Bailey.
Leon. Yeah.
Myself. And then that was that Portsmouth Smugglers. See, we had that for I think you came in the second season, and in the first season, that's when we had the Hughes brothers. So it was a real youth team, and then all of a sudden we had an explosion of experience come in. That was right. So it was in the our second season as Portsmouth Smugglers when you came in.
Right. So I was kind of training as a tree surgeon and running my own tree surgery business, and like playing basketball is a bit at odds with trying to do a physical job. The risk of injury in basketball means a lack of, it kind of compromises your income as a physical labourer. So I may or may not have been, I was in the area, but not perhaps committed to a basketball team.
Oh, okay. But you did come into the Portsmouth Smugglers.
Yeah, you're talking about 2007, 2008?
Towards the end of that, of the 2000 noughties, whatever you call it. And that team kind of went on for like 5-6 years. Because we started in Div 4, and then we ended up in Div 2. So we were around the top of Div 2. And it was pretty much, from what I remember, it was you, Ryan Payne, Clayton Milner were our top scorers, usually. So I'd probably actually go as far to say, in that era, that Portsmouth Smugglers team, you're probably our Portsmouth top scorer. I'm pretty confident saying that. I mean, it's going to be what, you, Ryan, or Clayton, isn't it?
For that season?
No. For that era of, we're talking about that Portsmouth Smuggler era, because you played for the entirety of it.
I wouldn't like to say.
I think you were, because Ryan left.
Okay,
and that's when the Teasdale brothers come in. I think Clayton was a season after you, so I think you're probably our top scorer
with
for
Clayton.
that.
Definitely played with Clayton and Ryan.
Yeah.
And the Teasdales. Definitely Craig Teasdale. I don't know about Owen or
Owen
Carl.
came in towards the end.
Right.
Carl didn't. So there's three brothers. There's three Teasdale brothers, but it was Craig and Owen were definitely in the team, and I think Carl was coming.
Who else?
Through
Luke Sanders. Was he on that team?
Yes, Luke.
Yeah.
Luke was.
There's another Portsmouth talent.
And then you had the older Bates.
Harry.
No, that's the younger brother.
I
can't remember his first name, but yeah.
It will come to me.
You know what? What I do remember in that era was there was I think it was, I'm sure it was a website or something like that. But at some point in a game, you highlighted that there was this website that records the top scorers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, we're playing bottom of the league next game. I know I'm going to get more minutes than I normally do. And I was third top scorer. And I remember showing Steve the website. Hey, Steve, look, I'm third. There you go. I'm in this website or whatever. What was that?
You were published.
Yeah. They actually do that on the Basketball England website. And they do it for the BBL, National League Div 1 and 2, and they keep running stats of everything. So the top 10 three-point shooters, free throw shooters. My favourite one is most fouls committed during a season. That is my stat. I love that one. But yeah, after on another podcast, I'll get the name up of the guy who's top for. He plays in Div 2 for some team, and he's got like something like 97 fouls or something like that in the season. I was like, legend. That's my player.
So I wonder what happens if if that's only in BBL 1 and 2, that if your team drops out.
What, down to 3? I don't think they do it.
They don't record it.
No,
but then what happens if you then come back up
unless your
again?
team does it. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think once you progress to Division 2, you need a statistician.
I'm just saying, if you drop out of that, if I was used to getting my stats, and then for some reason we dropped out and I didn't get my stats anymore, you'd be like a little disappointed because I want to know now that season's been lost. Even if you went down for one season then went back up again, it's like that's the lost season on your checkered history.
Those stats are actually invaluable as well, because it's saying something to the players. It's definitely saying something to the coach. I mean, something that no one knows about, well, you do, Mark, but one of the things that we were evolving throughout the season last year is I created this computer program.
Okay.
And I had a touchscreen laptop in front of me, and literally I had programmed in, trying to visualize it now, but yeah, basically all the players down one side, and it was buttons for free throw, 2 points, 3 points.
So you were keeping stats?
I was, but I was doing
Fantastic.
it. I was doing it to the point where it was like, if they shot right and they missed, I'd press a button, so it'd include the shot percentage. Did it for 3-point fouls.
Do you have a chart of the court so you could kind of?
No, I didn't do it like
it was
literally
area of the
just
court where they shot and missed from.
It was literally just buttons, but it recorded the whole suite. And the challenge I had is obviously when someone scores, it's like Steve Davison. I'm doing that, but at the same time,
You're announcing, you're
and
entertaining,
doing the stats
and
at
doing
the
the
same.
stats at the same time.
But the challenge I had was, it was like, okay, number 6 has just put up a shot. He missed it. Number 12 got a rebound. He passed it out.
Yeah.
Someone then shot a 3 and it went in. So it's like, well, okay, so that's a missed shot, a rebound, an assist, and have made 3-pointer have to record and say their name.
Yeah. So
and I found it extreme. I couldn't do it.
Typically, it takes 2 people to record the stats.
Yeah.
One would be calling out what happened, and the other would be like one of them would have their eyes on the sheet that they're recording the stats on, and someone's sitting next to them saying rebound 12, missed shot 14 blue, offensive rebound 12 blue.
There we go.
Well,
assist 12 blue, 3-point attempt and make 3 blue.
Yeah. So I mean, I did manage to do it. I think for 2 games, and what I was doing was then sending that information to the head coach and the assistant coach at halftime to say,
that's invaluable, Paul.
One of your players is currently 12% and has shot 23 pointers.
Yeah.
It was just highlight, and it would highlight it in red, or if their fouls were going up, it would highlight it in orange. When it was red, it was like they're about to be chucked out the game kind of thing. But
that's invaluable to a coach.
It was great, but it evolved.
You're basically assistant coach as well. You're announcing, statistician, assistant coach.
It didn't go down well with the numbers. And
well, that was a challenge we
fouls.
had as well, because we're right by the court. I would see a foul, and I wasn't waiting for the ref. I'd hear the ref call the whistle, and I'd like, that's a foul on number 12 because I've just seen you call it, and I'd press number 12. And then as we were going, what I found was there might be conflicts with the table, and it very much could be I'm wrong because
so you're sort of calling the shots. Are you in conflict with the referee sometimes?
No, they didn't. No one knew I was doing this, but I'd just be sitting there, and where the challenge came from, I would see foul on Steve Davison, number 12. I'd press 12 and go, that is Steve's 3rd personal foul, and then it would be at half time. I'd be double checking. Well, hang on, that's his. He's got 2 personal fouls or 4. And I'd be like, well, hang on, I've missed something. What's happened? So it was
because you're not doing the actual desk and you're not doing the recording of it.
It's difficult.
That's
to stay on
perhaps
top of it.
why someone in your position would be sat on the table with those people recording
Yeah,
those.
normally they would, but
you
we
know,
can't
and-
because where the mics are and we got limited wire length. That's why.
In
we're on
idea,
that
well,
side.
on the actual who's doing the record in the middle, there's usually two sat there, as you say, and actually, if one of them somehow put it in that information that we could see, then you could call it out, no problem at all.
Yeah.
But that's the simple evolution. It's just going to be, you know, you could even be just send a text message, whatever it is. It could be as send an owl. I don't care. But that's why you had to sort of stop it, because it was just getting to that point of there's
much.
4 actions going on here. You don't want to call anything out at the same time or preempt a call if you're not sure. And at that point also, is, you know, the context of it was we were still trying to get the refs comfortable with having backing music, making some noise, getting the crowd involved and geeing people up, because they didn't want that.
Yeah,
and
right.
and some of the coaches were like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? This is like an unfair advantage.
You're training the refs.
You got
I
you
don't
got
know.
250 people turning up to a Div 3 game.
Yeah.
You go when they go to an away game, they might have 15 people show up, and it's like, thanks, mum. You know, this is like,
I don't think it was they were against it. I think it is the rules are not clarified, so it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
So there is no rule to say.
it's an are they allowed to do
jingles.
this? Because
So
no one knew.
from a referee's perspective, they would say, "Well, hang on, you're not allowed to do this. It's unfair advantage." And we're like, "There's nothing in the rule book." Like,
Yeah.
I spent a day reading through all of BE documentation. I know there's nothing in the rule books. Like,
It's home advantage.
I've gone to-
ultimately.
you know what? I don't understand this, and I don't know if this is an English thing where everyone has to be nice
inclusive
and inclusive
and non-competitive.
and politically correct and say, "Excellent, well done on that shot. You've just knocked us out the playoffs. Well done." It's like, come on. There's nothing wrong with home court advantage.
It's
I
not
don't
about
think.
winning, Paul. It's about taking part.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you met Paul, Steve?
I don't think there's anything wrong with home court advantage.
No,
But-
but you know, it raises a point, because as you're saying, Steve, those stats are so vital, because actually they change the flow of the game. It's like, hang on a minute. Oh, I think he's not having too bad a game. He's doing all right. And you go, he's having an absolute
this
shocker.
guy's on fire.
Yeah.
You know, you need to run a play for him. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
every time he's touched the ball, he's hit it. Do you realise that? It's like, no. It's like, yeah, he's like 70-80%
Yeah.
inside. Like,
it's
I
another
remember,
dimension. It gives another dimension to the coach.
And one of the stats I remember was a guy called Zachary Arby.
Yeah, I know
He
that.
was something like 5 for 5 at half time shooting threes. It was ridiculous. And we were looking at it going, bloody hell, he's 100% from shooting threes.
well, Steve mentioned it in his podcast about flow. He was just
Yeah.
in that. It was just in that. Give him the ball. Just get the ball to him. He's just in that place where he's happy and he's comfortable with the ball, and he
Yeah.
just. He
But there
wants
was
it.
that third
Yeah.
quarter where he wasn't getting the ball. And
Yeah.
we were looking at the stats, seeing it going, he's 100%. Like,
It's the most annoying
give it to
thing.
him. Get it to him.
As a shooter, if you're hot and your teammates don't
Yeah.
run a
But-
play for you, or like, because it's not even about you at this point. It's the best thing for the team is to get the ball into the guy's hands
Yeah.
who's shooting the
But
lights
is
out.
that the Moneyball factor? Because you know, for anyone who hasn't watched Moneyball, you've got to go watch it. It's a brilliant film. But where they're talking about stats in baseball and how that transformed baseball, saying we're looking at the stats of the individual contributions that as a team it all adds up to. All of these people have got to do little bits to make a win, and so it all comes down to the stats. When you look at the way a lot of professional teams are played now, certainly in the NBA, they're really leaning on stats more and more and more now. And I don't know if that's changed the game for the better or worse.
Well, just to conclude, that little story is that then evolved from having that stat package to me getting rid of a lot of the buttons and just having it's a 1-point button and a foul button.
Yep.
So I'm still keeping track of points and fouls. I've still got the program where anyone can have it, where they can record everything. But I think you're right. You need several people doing it. But in that space where you used to have all the buttons, I put big buttons, and when you press that, that's when you get the sound effects. And all of a sudden we were like, wonder if are we allowed to do this? And that's how that evolved to.
I love this. You're sort of breaking new ground.
We're going to play American, well, it's like organ, isn't it? Dun, 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 dun. I mean, most of it
blue.
is.
Hit blue.
This one.
Yep. Stuff like that, isn't it?
Stuff like that. Little jingles.
And anything just to change the pace of the game, but not necessarily on either side of the team. Obviously, we've got to remain non-biased.
Well, the jingles, basically, it encourages the crowd to sing "Let's Go Portsmouth" or "Defense." Fundamentally, that's all it's doing. And yeah, I think it sounds great. Like I said, I remember the first time we did it, and I saw the captain of Portsmouth was Ollie Blake, and he got the ball, started bringing it up, and we were like, dun, or something like that, and his face just lit up, and I was like, that you can see he loves it.
Likewise, playing the Jaws music, and that's coming up, and
When
shot
they've
clock's
got the
going
ball.
down.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Guy's throwing it up, and you got like 4 seconds left, mate. You're just getting excited by the music, and the guy just throws it up, and you think, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that...
You've got a shot clock there for a reason. Yeah, forget everything else.
Because a
You
lot of the
focus on
teams
shot
don't have many people turning up. So then having 200 people plus a load of noise and things going on,
350.
they're feeling like, yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, when you've got that many voices, it's a different.
It's the
it's a
sixth
different
man.
pressure.
It's the sixth man effect, isn't it? The crowd becomes a sixth man.
Absolutely. Oh,
And I think
There's
it's
a few times
sink
it
or
did.
swim. Sorry, sink or swim moment, isn't it? If you go into that environment as an away player, it's either going to give you a massive buzz and go, right, I just want to shut these people up,
Yeah.
or it's going to have that where you just, go into your little cocoon.
do you like playing with crowds?
If I'm at home, I guess, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's stories about playing in Brixton. Brixton was a really difficult place to go into and play.
Why?
As a youth player.
Didn't they have a
Man,
DJ at
I'm
one
sure
point?
I heard stories from Mick about having to get a police escort out of there at stages.
Yeah, I heard that as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, I think
it's like these, southern kids coming into London, like.
Yeah, that'll do
you
it.
know what? The last time we played in Brixton, I remember they had this DJ full on decks, and the game started, and literally was like, and it was like, I thought it was really off-putting. I remember I had an open layup, and all I could think about was this music going.
And you missed it?
No, I think I would say it was a goaltending, Mark. I would say it's a goaltending moment, but yeah, it was.
It's your story.
Mickey Byrne didn't go to that game.
You tell
Alex
your truth.
Alex coached that game. I don't know where Mick was, but yeah, I don't know if you remember. We managed to get Brixton in a cup final when we were in Div 2 as well. Remember
Right.
that?
Yeah, I
Can
do
you
remember
that?
playing back at that court again, yeah.
No, not in Brixton. It was a cup final, so we had to go. I think it was like Manchester or something. We went up to play, and we went
Right.
up on the Saturday night, and then the game was or the Friday night, and the game was the next day.
Okay.
Can you remember that?
No.
Oh my goodness,
Did we go?
we lost the final.
The trouble with those games is you always end up having a drink because you're there with a group of blokes, and it's like Saturday night. The game's not till Sunday. You're in a hotel. You end up in a bar. You got to play basketball the next day.
Yeah, well, we definitely lost the game. I remember that. I think we lost by. I want to say we lost by 16 or 18. And it was a guy called Mundy Castle.
Yeah, I remember that.
Mundy Castle
Cherry.
got MVP.
They called him Cherry because like he got a load of his buckets from cherry picking Mundy Castle.
Oh, okay.
Paul Mundy Castle.
Paul Mundy Castle.
I'm pretty sure that was his name.
Well, leading on from that, there's only one place you go after the smugglers.
Yeah, because the Smugglers folded, didn't it? It just ended in the early teens, 20 teens, however you phrase that. And then you're looking for basketball. Where do you go?
Well, yeah, I was a bit vague on what year it was. 20 teens.
So I think this is around 20. This has got to be 2012, 2014. This is when you go back to the Solent Kestrels to play National
where
League
had I
basketball.
been? I was in my late 30s and realised that I wanted to play National League again, and Portsmouth didn't have a National League team. so, yeah, rather than let that opportunity slip away and look back and wish I'd played National League again, I went to play for a couple of years over at Solent Kestrels for their second team in Div 3 for Sylvain Donode.
Oh, Sylvain. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. Nice guy, great coach.
He's got, I've never been coached by him, but I know he's got a fabulous reputation as a good coach. Everyone always says positive things about him.
Yeah. He knows basketball really well. A strategist again, great practice coach. He's always got different drills. Every week is different drills, new drills every week, just to kind of keep you on your toes, keep you thinking.
I guess that's quite nice, isn't it? So you started out, your National League career in the Solent Stars, and you end in the Solent Kestrels.
I never really thought about it like that, but in a nice sort of cyclical fashion, I do seem to have started and ended there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. And you see, and all throughout all of that, you were playing local league for the Portsmouth Smugglers.
Yeah, I reckon I played
and still are
20 years for Mick, either national or local league. In between those, and I'm still playing. Yeah. Rest in peace. But yeah, I played my last season for Mick. We're unsure at the moment what's going to happen with the team next year. But yeah, he made it.
Is it going to stay the Portsmouth Smugglers, or will it become the Navy? To
be revealed. I don't know at the moment. I was just going to make a point about how there's a photo in the newspaper for his obituary or something, and it's the game after your finals. We took a photograph as a team under the hoop, and like half of us had taken our shoes off, weren't wearing, like, we were just wearing like our top. I had to put my team top back on. And Mick's sort of coming over to us on his walking stick, and he goes, "Put your fucking shoes."
You can hear him saying,
he goes, "Put your fucking shoes back on." And that was one of those moments where I'm like, it's just Mick being cantankerous. But in hindsight, if I'd have known it was going to be his last photo, of course I would have gone back and put my kit back on and my shoes back on. But I think I'm in socks in that photo. And
I think there's a lot of those photos throughout the years.
Quite possibly.
Where the game finishes and people just kick off or take their shirt off, and then it's like, hang on, we got a finals photo or something like that. But yeah, I know there was a few of us in that weekend who actually had a nice interaction with Mick, and it was nice to say goodbye in a certain way. So I think, definitely Mick was quite open about how he was feeling, stuff like that, with some of the people he's known for 30 years. So it was, I guess, good for him to say that, because people just thought, screw it, I'm just going to say what I want to say to Mick, just in case. And those people, it was nice because you got that moment, say goodbye, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, you know what? We always tend to end up back with Mick. Again, it just highlights how much he's part of the, the culture and the basketball community and setup around here.
But it's the Portsmouth.
He's pivotal.
He's a pillar. He's Portsmouth a pillar. Basketball podcast, isn't it?
He's a pillar of Portsmouth basketball.
Yeah. There's and that legacy of the Force now, even if he's doing something, even if he was involved or he wasn't involved, no matter what, the legacy of the fact that there's going to be a national team and all those bits, that's his legacy. That's his real mark on it, is that there's people still playing basketball, that there's feeder teams, that there's youth teams, that all of those things and all those players, that all comes back from him, and taking those hits, financially himself, as well as putting his time in and everything. I think there's a lot to be said for him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting though, because you've both had different experiences with different coaches, different journeys in basketball. But one of the things that I asked Andy Roden last time, I think quite prevalent for you, is how do you stay, longevity in basketball? Because you know, in the last thing you mentioned there was about you were in your 30s and you're like, I still want to play. I still want to do that. And one of the things Andy mentioned was how he'd been away from basketball for a while.
Yeah, right.
And then he was like, I just want to come back and play again. And I think it's really interesting that there's times, I know you, Paul, have done it sometimes where you've been like, I've been coaching a bit more, I've done the reffing, and you've stepped back a bit from the basketball, and then a few seasons you're like, no, I want to get a hand on again. I want to get in. So how do you stay longevity-wise playing physically?
Stretching. My thing is stretching.
Yeah.
So as a measure for injury prevention, right? If you want to do anything in sport at a later stage, at some point in your career, it becomes really important to start stretching, right? If you don't, you're just going to be more injury prone. So it's the main thing I rely on to be able to keep playing is stretching before, stretching afterwards, and that reduces the amount of pain. It doesn't get rid of the pain. You still hurt the next day, but you just hope that you're less injury prone.
Have you had any bad injuries career-wise?
You've been quite lucky, haven't you?
Ankles in my youth, and then
I mean, everyone has the ankle injuries, but you've been quite lucky from where I can't remember.
Recurrent back issues. So it's more like a few days after playing basketball. If I don't stretch, I'm definitely more prone to getting like a twinge in my back. That will become a problem. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was one thing that I was going to, just highlight. Just going back on the Mickey Burns stuff, was obviously that influence that Mick had on you. You then, that boys setup that you did. Do you want to talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, so I was living in Southsea, but playing for the Solent Kestrels. In my late 30s, Division 3 over there for Sylvan. And I don't know if you remember Simon Coutard, the French...
Simon Coutard, yeah.
Yeah, Coutard. A French coach who was living over here, and he's set up... So when I got involved with the Portsmouth Basketball Club, there was a full spectrum, full age group National League program for girls, and the boys' side didn't exist. So what Simon had done was applied for funding to get girls involved in sport. And so he'd set up Portsmouth Basketball Club to be a girls' club, based on the fact that there was funding available for him to do that. And so when I got involved with Simon, it was to start increasing participation in Portsmouth amongst Portsmouth schoolboys. So we started an under-14s club. I went around the schools drumming up interest to start a Portsmouth under-14s basketball club for the boys, yeah. And
basically, Mark, what we're talking about here is Steve is one of the founding fathers of the Portsmouth Force.
Well, this is the seed of it, yeah.
This is the really early on, so this is...
Your seed was used in the inception.
2017, we are... yeah.
But it is the start of it. And if you look at like the fun and fundamentals and stuff like that, you've actually got National League boys now. It's kind of gone the other way around.
It's done a complete reversal, yeah. I mean, it's great to see, but it'd be nice to see like if we could get a girls program going as well and like mirror what the success has been created on the boys' side. But yeah. At some point, I got Rob involved, and he has just taken it and run with it. He's done such a fantastic job of increasing participation, increasing the profile of the sport in the city, and I couldn't be prouder of where he's taken this club. With what I handed him was just a boys' club. We were kind of playing friendlies, and that was it. So,
I mean, just alongside that, the stuff with Simon Coutard. Simon, he had a really good girls' National League team set up there. I mean, they were really competing. And just to highlight the strength of that, and I brought this up before, I think, is you had some of the players that have now gone on to play for Solent Kestrel's girls set up, you know,
you
live in Portsmouth.
Yep.
They were part of that.
Wow.
Faye
Portsmouth.
Endine.
Yeah. And look where they are now. You know, they're
Lauren
winning.
Green, is it?
They're winning Div 1 National League Women's.
Yeah, there are.
Or they're part of that. A big part of that. Definitely Faye.
Faye is like MVP, finals MVP, league MVP, league champion.
Wow.
She could pretty much produce a triple double on command.
Wow, we should see if we can get her on.
100%.
She lives in the area of your studio.
100%.
What, Steve? You might have to
Steve.
send a message.
She must be on Facebook.
We'll see if we can find her.
Yeah.
But
Don't
great.
advocate his
Great
Facebook
guest.
stalking. That's never any good.
Right, Steve, you know, I really appreciate you coming here, Steve. I mean, again, like I said, I think he's been involved in all the basketball for the last 25 years, National League, and, you know, some of the setup, the foundation seeds of, you know, where the Portsmouth Force is now.
Yep.
The only thing we can ask of you, Steve, I think, do you mind taking a shot on our studio court?
Yep. You got to wrap up with a shot. We got a few questions for you.
Does Steve Davison mind taking a shot?
Yeah. not there. I'm not getting tequila out. We're not doing shots. Not shots.
I'm not known for passing the ball, guys.
Right.
Never knowingly. No.
I'll do the commentating like usual.
Where's the ball
Well,
at?
before we wrap this up, we got to do some shots. Are we going to do that first? We're going to do
I
that.
was going to let him do that and then come back to that.
All right. We'll do that then.
Yeah.
Steve.
So
There's no
here we go.
pressure at this. But before we start this, I'm just going to say, Paul casually just threw the ball once, and I called him out on it, and it went in. I then tried to call him out and say double or nothing, and it went in again.
How much do you owe him?
It's just respect.
He got
Bragging rights.
no, because he got greedy, and then he tried to go 3 for 3, and no, 2 for 3.
Look, it was 2 for 2. No one cares about the other 17 shots. No one cares. Right.
But this is serious stuff now. This is probably the toughest shot you're going to have to take.
So this was 2 shots, but Steve Ware asked for a third shot. So the third shot is known as the Stevie Ware bonus shot.
Did he make any of them?
He made 1 out of 3.
Who's all-time leader?
Steve Ware with 1 out of 3. So pressure's on. So here we go. All right, we got Steve Davison stepping up to take this shot now. He's looking confident as he walks to the line that Mark has drawn, that everyone stands on, nervous. I don't know if you can hear that court. Steve, do you need glasses on? Are you all right? You're squinting your eyes a little bit. Right, here you go, Steve. He's getting ready to take his first shot. He's doing some. He did say he was doing stretching. He's using 2 hands on this ball. Oh, he's going for the granny style shot. Air ball. Absolute air ball. He's going granny style. He is probably about. This is the Stevie Ware bonus shot. Oh. 0. It looks a lot easier than it is.
Didn't even touch the ring.
Steve, how do you feel after those 3 shots?
Oh, is that the time?
Yeah. Pressure. Did the
No.
Reggie
How do I feel?
Miller.
I feel fantastic, Paul. I feel like
So
ready to go to a real basketball court with a real ball and a real hoop.
an air ball there as well.
Ooh.
3 air balls. Well, Mark always likes to finish
I always
the
like
podcast on 2 questions.
Yeah. So we've asked everyone so far. If you could have one person, it could be any basketball player. So this could be NBA, FIBA, or someone you play personally.
Someone you played with National League for Portsmouth Smugglers,
Could-
who sat on the bench.
We have there. I won't give it away, but Andy Rowlands gave a very interesting one for this
It's
answer.
a unique answer.
Very interesting answer. You got to give them the ball. They got that one shot. It's like the Robert Horry, Michael Jordan. It's that one shot, the game winner.
Oh, big shot, Bob.
Big shot. Who's it going to be? Who are you going to pass it to? Who would be that one player?
To make one shot to win
Yep.
an NBA title.
To win a game,
to win whatever game.
To save the world, whatever. That
who
one
would it
person
be?
get the ball.
It could be Shaq
Well, how
inside.
much pressure is there?
It's the championship. It's the game 7.
Game 7,
Game
down
7.
by 1, 10 seconds to go.
Yeah. So a 2 or a 3 doesn't matter what it is. It's
This is a silly question.
no. Who would you be passing it to?
Michael Jordan.
Jordan.
No hesitation.
No, there's no hesitation. It's very interesting.
That's like... Isn't
Not everyone has answered that.
Well, everyone's crazy.
Okay. And we'll lead with this. Your starting 5 all time basketball players. Could be anyone.
And sorry, you're going to give him a sub as well.
You can have a sub. You can have a sub. You can have a 6th man. Don't get the full bench, just a 6th man.
Now I know Steve, and I think he's going to be unique.
I've given some thought to this before today. I've just got to try and remember them. So it's John Stockton at 1, all-time steals and assist leader.
Yes.
John Stockton, right? 2-way players. I want 2-way players all the way down the line.
Greatest statistical point guard there is.
Michael Jordan at 2 spot. I think LeBron James is filling up the stat sheet in 5 stats. Right, he's going to be top 10 in 5 stats, I think. 4 spot.
Are you going to play yourself? Just so you can play with these guys?
I'm going with... people talk about Tim Duncan at the 4.
He's one of my options.
I don't know what his stats are. I think I was looking at people like maybe Bill Russell and Hakeem Olajuwon at the 5. Hakeem is top 5 or top 10 in 5 stats. He's an all-time blocks leader. And I want people who can receive the ball and Hakeem. No, Kareem. Sorry, maybe it's Hakeem and Kareem. I want them at the 4 and 5. So I'm going with like all-time leaders on both ends of the court. Michael Jordan's a 2-way player, right? He was Defensive Player of the Year. That's.
So you got John Stockton, MJ.
How's it looking?
LeBron, Kareem, and Hakeem.
So who's your 6th man? Who's coming on?
Let's go with Wilt Chamberlain.
Wow.
Whoa. I mean, out the gate, other than John Stockton, that's a big team. There's some tall players there.
Now you listen to Gary Payton talk about guarding John Stockton. He just gave him nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah, even MJ says it's like they knock him down and he just gets up. And he's like
tough, but he's all-time leader in steals and assists.
He's the greatest point guard statistically to have ever been on the court because of the stats. And you look at his turnovers and the shooting percentages and everything.
And he's going to facilitate those other guys.
Did he ever miss? He didn't have an injury. It's like 17 seasons or something.
Something like that. Didn't miss a game for 17 seasons.
Relentless. Yeah. So who's your 6th man?
Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
I might revise it. I might revise it as time goes by. But for today,
that's a great all time.
That's a great all time indeed. I mean, that's worthy of a Space Jam film for sure.
Well, Steve, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell my story and to contribute to the Portsmouth story of Portsmouth basketball.
Thank you for sharing them. Thank you for sharing some of those stories are. I mean, Oklahoma thing's gonna
keep doing what you're doing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you got to hook us up with some more people, so people you can think of.
All right, we're going to stay in touch.
Well, for Steve Davison, thank you very much. And
Well, that's the end of it.
I mean, who we got next?
I have no idea. You keep messaging me and saying, what date is it? We're doing this person and this person. And I lose track, to be honest. I think next, have we got Tom?
Well, we can put him next, yeah. So Tom Milner, he's been National League coach for the youth setup, inspired by Steve Davison, for the last 6, 7, 8 years now.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's going to have a great perspective on everything.
Feeds nicely from taking over from where it started.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time today.
Tom was actually there with me at the beginning. I was coaching Harry, and Tom was he got involved and started helping me out with the coaching.
That's amazing. What a way to wrap up. Thank you so much for listening wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Tune into all our episodes, and if you haven't gone back, go listen for more. Have a great week, and we'll speak to you next time.
Yeah.